You're watching Rainnite Gaming.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Rainnite Gaming. I'm Rainnite, and it's time for another bit of Meta Watch. Some of you guys have made some comments. I read all the comments, and I appreciate everyone's thoughts on everything. A couple things I'm going to talk about really quick before we get in there. If you're new to the game and you don't know what meta means, meta is just basically you look at all the cards that are currently out in a game, what decks are being played, what decks are winning, and then you form what are considered meta decks. That just means the best decks in the series right now. And actually, if you look at results, it's a really good meta right now because we've just got a ton of good decks that are kind of just taking turns being at the top. And it's just kind of like one deck beats another deck, beats another deck, beats another deck, and just goes all around like a giant paper, rock, scissors, and it's really, really fun to watch. Today, I've got two tournament results for you. We've got the Sunday Gundam Fight Tournament, or Sunday Gundam Fight Tournament, yeah, that's right. And we've got the Eggman TCG Tournament. First up, let's go into the Sunday one. And as you can see, they had a pretty good turnout for them. 25 is pretty awesome. And look at the deck list. There's all kinds of different stuff. Let's just look at the top two, just so you can get a feel of what's winning these stuff. So first up, we have blue-white control. It's the unicorn build. And you know, this one's been pretty solid for a long time. Little tweaks here and there. But this is just one of those decks that is always going to be cropping up because it's just consistent. So we've got 3 Zwart, 4 Raziel, 4 Lifith, 3 Grandpa Gundam, 4 Aerial Strike Gundam, Ale? Somebody said I always put an R in there. I don't know. Maybe that's the Midwest in me. It's the Ale Strike Gundam, I'm guessing. 3 Perfect Strike Gundam, 3 Unicorn Destroy Mode, 1 Freedom Gundam. Why do they only play 1? That seems odd to me. But they won, so they're better builders than I am. And then we've got 4 Amuro, 4 Kira, and 3 Link. So pretty standard build there. You gotta have your searchers, 4 Overflowing Affection, 4 Show of Resolve. We're playing 1 Incident, which, you know, it's a choice. And 3 Archangel and 2 White Base. So pretty normal build. They did do some, like, a little bit different with some of the ratios, not going 4 of on everything, basically. So, you know, it lets them have a little bit more different kind of stuff going on and adding just something for a possible burst. I think that's what that's for. Next up, we've got Dino Dashed. And this is a white-green Operation Meteor. Everybody loves the Operation Meteor, or you might hear people call it Ramp. So basically this is just something that you try to hold them off until you get to your late game. Once you get around turn 6, you're rolling pretty hard. And if you've got your advantage when you get to right here, you're just going to continue to get more advantage. So let's go over it really quick. We've got Zwart, Bird Mode, Lifith, Ale Strike, Death Scythe, Wing Gundam, Freedom Gundam, Wing Gundam Zero, and then Duo, Hero, Kira. Your searchers, we got Overflowing Affection and Victory or Defeat. Then 2 Incident and 4 of the Desert Base, the 6 health one. This has been pretty normal of what you're seeing of these decks. I would say one thing that's kind of caught my attention over the last few weeks, the Desert Base, you see that in almost every green deck that's trying to hold people off. Because a lot of times Rush decks might have a little trouble getting over it in decent fashion. So some of those early decks, they'll have a bunch of weenies on there and they'll have to 3 or 4 hit that base. And that just really saves you a bunch of time to ramp up on this deck. It actually plays a little bit fewer blockers than I kind of would think. Usually you see Zwart at 4, but that's just 2, and then Ale's got 1. But you know, hey, he must know what he's doing because he's winning tournaments, and I'm not. But really cool deck. I love seeing all the different things working at ratios for these games. Okay, going into Eggman, I'm just going to show you the top couple decks. This one had a Rush winner, so we got Xeon aggro, and we got Earth Federation aggro as second. So big aggro on this one, when the other one was more of a control-y meta. So it's kind of interesting just seeing different tournaments are going to show different things. And if you look at like the Japanese meta, that's all different too. So it's going to be really interesting how this all comes together over more time, and when another set comes out to see what just kind of comes up. It's really interesting to look at. So going into our first Rush style deck here, this is the green-blue. Some people call it the 1 Year War build. So we've got 4 dupe, dop, 3 Zaku 1, 2, 4 gem, and 4 gun tank, and 4 Zaku 2, and 4 Zaku 2. That's just, you know, a bunch of really early stuff so they can just spam the board really fast. And you see this a lot in this deck. You've got a lot of those weenies, but once you clear the base, you just hit the shields really fast. So it's just all about being really low to the ground and getting in there really quickly. Next level up, you've got your Char Zaku 2 and Char Zaku 2. You get a token from this one's destroyed, and you get a search when this one's destroyed. This one just kind of replaces itself, and this one replaces itself with a token with a little bit less health. It just keeps you, you know, a little more hand advantage, more stuff on the board. Then we got G Fighter. I like seeing this in there. It's kind of interesting because it does give you more high maneuverability, because you're going to get high maneuver from these two, so it can be kind of cool. Then we also have more control aspect in this one. This one does add a little bit more control with the gun cannon, because when this one is paired, you get to rest something, and if you link it with Amuro, you're resting 2 things. So you're just adding more control, pretty much to get by those blockers without having to swing into them, because this build doesn't actually play any breach. So you know, this one's all about resting enemies and controlling the field that way. Pilots, we're doing 4 Char, 4 Amuro, just your basic pilot build for that. Only 8. I have seen some go a couple higher, but 8's kind of normal. This one does play the Corsair's base, which is really cool. I do think this is really good for this deck, because you're getting that base out there, and you're getting a big token, and then you're getting 2 tokens. So it's really just helping you get more and more advantage out there on the board. Same thing with white base. That's really good for this deck because you get to keep on putting tokens, and if they don't kill it really quick, you're just going to keep generating tokens. And that's one thing this, you know, deck and more aggro decks have problems with. When they run out of cards and kind of stuff, this will help you have more of a board presence, which is pretty cool. And then we're going to play 2 Siege Ploy. This is going to add more resting, more control. So interesting build. I really like this. I'm going to have to try this one out. I played a version that I'm not totally happy with, so it might be neat to try this one out. Next up, which one was this? This was the Earth Federation aggro. And as you can see, it is quite different. They've got some cool stuff in here. So, this one, the front end's pretty similar. 4 gem, 4 gun tank, 4 Zaku 2, 4 Zaku 2. Then we play the G Fighter and the gun tank. Then things get a little weird here. This is an interesting build. We got 3 Jagger and 3 Raziel. Those are just going to be a 4 Raziel. These are just your vanillas pretty much. Yeah, this one isn't quite a vanilla because it lets you summon it out for cheaper, but it's basically a vanilla. Then we got our 1 pinger right here. We've got to pop some damage. That lets you kind of like get rid of something, maybe get something so it's to a point of life where you can actually swing over it. And then we've got 3 Grandpa Gundam, and then we get to the interesting stuff. We've got the Shenlong Gundam, both of them. So 2 of the one from the Structure, is that the Structure? No, not Structure deck. This is just the, not rare one, this is the, yeah, it's the common one. So it has Breach 3, and then we've got the other one which has Breach 4, which is pretty cool, and can destroy blockers on attacking. So these are really interesting to see. I'm very curious how the Shenlong stuff comes about, because it's a really cool Gundam, and I hope to see more of this. Then pilots, we're playing 4 Amuro, and then we get to see a new pilot, Wu Fei, playing 4 of him. Obviously, he's going to link up with your Shenlongs, so that's really, really cool. Let's see, then we are playing the Corsairs base. We're playing 3 of that. We're actually only playing 3 bases. You do see lower bases in rush decks because, you know, ain't got time for that kind of stuff. And this one's going to give you the big 4/2 token and then the 1/1 tokens, 2 of them. Then we're just playing 1 searcher. I think it was just to round things out. So it's just going to add a little bit of searching to your deck. Really cool build. This one is another one that's really cool. Both of these super interesting builds of a rush deck that we haven't really seen a ton of before. So I love seeing that differences, you know. Next up, this is a ping deck. And as you can see, it is very different from what we've been looking at here. But it's pretty similar to what we've seen so in the meta so far. But it plays some really cool stuff. So we've got 2 of the Gian, I think it's Gian. Then we've got 4 of the Gem, 4 Gun Tank, 2 Zaku Marine, 2 Gun Cannon, 2 of the Little Pinger, 4 Grandpa Gundam. Then we get into our big stuff here. We've got our Kshatriya. This is the Vanilla Bell Pepper. We get into Unicorn mode. And yeah, this is the one that choose enemies with 3 or more HP, rest them. And it links, of course. This is the one that links with Cyber New Type, so you actually get cross-color linking, which is really neat. Then we've got Spicy Bell Pepper, Kshatriya with the effect to ping. This is where you're just going to be able to ping stuff for a ton of damage. So when you link it and attack, it's really, really nice. Then we are playing Banshee Destroy mode. This one's really gnarly because it just does all kinds of fun stuff, including First Strike. It's a crazy card. Plus, it lets you recycle the 12 back into your deck. Awesome, awesome, awesome. 4 Amuro, 4 Crews, just good pilots. They're linked with everything you have. And then we go into Corsair base. This is 3 bases. And then we go to Bacillus. So we've got one that's going to be giving us our tokens and one that's going to be giving us some damage. You know, it's interesting looking at all of these decks this time. Almost every blue is playing Corsair base. So that's a really new thing I'm seeing in the meta. This is really coming out there for a lot of people. And this one is just going to help you swing over some stuff, probably in the, like with your littler guys, swinging over some bigger stuff, getting over those 6 health bases kind of stuff. Finishing it off, our command, we've got Battle Ace. And what's this do? Choose 1 enemy unit, deal 3 damage to it. Okay, that's pretty, 1 enemy unit. Yeah, that's pretty nice. That's a lot of ping. Playing 3 of those, just more ping damage, and then 4 Searchers, Shadow of Resolve, you know, to add consistency. Very cool, very cool. The ping deck, I have not played the ping deck much. I've played against it, and I've lost against it. But it's a really interesting deck. Okay, if you look down at some more of these so you guys can see more of how this tournament went, you can see so much variety. There's so much variety in the meta right now. It's not just 1 or 2 decks doing everything. We've got like 4 or 5, which is really, really awesome. Okay, guys, that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you enjoy these videos. Hopefully you go down, like, subscribe, go over to my Discord. Let me see if you have decks that are winning. Drop it in there, and maybe you could be in the next Meta Watch. So, if you guys keep preparing like this, you're going to be ready. And you know what I always say, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. And I'll see you in the next one. See ya.